Hi, this is Coach World TV. I'm Laurie Lawson, and tonight my guest is Jack Perry. Hey, Jack Perry.
How you doing, Laurie?
I have to tell you, Jack just flew up today or last night from Atlanta, Georgia, so we are thrilled to have him. I'm going to give you some of his titles, because if not, it'll take the whole show. But Jack Perry is an international speaker, and he's a strategic life planner. He's also a Franklin Covey facilitator.
Yes.
He's an executive coach, and he is, no, there's not and, there's two more. And he is the founder of Source Point Coaching, as well as, what he's going to tell us about tonight is a new program that he's also developed called A Life Legacy. So Jack, thank you so much for being up here.
Thanks, Laurie. It's a pleasure to be here and be back here in New York City, the wonderful people of New York.
Well, we're thrilled to have you.
Thank you.
Tell us how you, what's a big guy like you doing in the coaching world?
Oh gosh, that's a great question, Laurie. Years ago, I went through a transition. I left the military, and I was kind of lost at where I was going to go and what I was going to do with my life. And a mutual friend of mine handed me a telephone number to a great coach, Tracy Cleary, down in Tampa, Florida. And I went through a coaching program with her as I was her client. She was my coach. And she brought about a bunch of great tools and techniques for me to help me as a man, as a person, as a man, to help me with what I was going through. And that was finding myself and the transition into the civilian world. And I said, gosh, this is a really amazing tool. This is pretty cool stuff that Tracy has. And I said, how can I take this messaging and help it and bring it to the rest of the world? And I found that there are a lot of niches and a lot of venues out there that could use what I was going through.
So you had your own personal experience, and then you said, I got to share it?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
And I developed a program. I started Source Point Coaching, and I went with a life legacy message for men. And a life legacy message for men was very important to me because I saw that there was a void in life about people going through life, and a lot of anger and a lot of issues with men having problems with relationships and families. And I said, you know what? This is something that I need to bring to the table. And the impetus for me was when I saw some of the anger issues that my father had as a young man growing up, and I wanted to see if I can use those tools to help me and help other men that may be going through those same type of issues and concerns in their lives.
Tell me a little bit more about that. It's like, what this prompted, did you start out doing life legacy, or did you start out doing executive coaching? It just seems like they're not incongruent, but it's like they're two different fields.
Yeah, I did life legacy, came about, and then I realized how important a life legacy message is important to not only to a man individually, but also to and his personal life, but also how it goes over into professional life as well. If we understand who we are, who our self is, and we understand who we are, then it's easier for us to have good relationships with the people important to our lives, such as our wives, our girlfriends, spouses, significant other people, our sons and our daughters. And that encompasses so many different areas of our lives. So the trick is, the technique is understanding who we are as ourself, as a man first, and then being able to understand that and be able to help other people in their world.
Tell us how your father prompted that.
Oh my gosh, my dad was an angry man. And I don't mean that in a hurtful, mean way with my father. It's just that towards the end of my dad's life, I had a chance to sit down and talk with him before he passed on. And it was a rare moment, but it's something that I think that maybe all of us at some point in our life would like to do that with somebody significant to us. So I sat down and I asked my father, I said, Dad, why are you so angry? And my father looked at me one day and towards the end of his life, because he was in a hospice, and my father looked at me and he said, Jack, I don't know, I've always been such an angry person. In that moment I realized that my father wished, I believe, at some point in his life, if he knew he was going to be that way or end that way, why can't we take steps in our lives now to prevent that from happening? And so I said, you know what, let me take this message and take it to the street, and let me see what else I can do, how I can help other people, how I can help other men out there, what I learned from my father, and to develop a life legacy message. And one of the things that my dad said to me, a couple of things he said to me before he passed away, and that was, one, Jack, never lie to yourself, and always, always fix things when you have the opportunity to do it. So, Laurie, I'm here to help fix things before they get out of hand.
Tell us what your tagline is for a life legacy.
Oh, your life, your core, your life, your success. That's what I
Okay.
like to use. So yes, your success in life. And once you understand your core of who you are and your being, and then you can take control of your life and develop success to help those people most important to you in your life.
It's a whole
I love
different
that.
tagline. I thought his tagline was from good to great men.
Oh, from good to great.
Maybe changed it. I don't know.
Yeah, from good to great men. Yes, it says
Yeah.
one, yes, from good
It's
to
got
great
a bunch
men.
of taglines,
Yeah,
but they're all good, so
thanks,
that's great.
Laurie.
That's all right. That's
good,
okay.
Good. That was this live TV thing.
Yeah,
so
that's
it's
all right.
okay.
Well, no,
That's
they
all
were
right.
both interesting
Yeah, okay.
taglines. So, do people? Are people aware that they're angry, or do they come? How do you get the message out? I mean, this is a great way,
Yeah,
certainly. But
this is a great way, and I appreciate the opportunity, but sometimes you don't know. And anger can come out manifest itself in many different ways. How we talk to people, it could be physical, it could be an emotional independence, it could be codependency, it could be also it can come out through alcohol, drug abuse, sexual abuse, in many different ways. Because sometimes we men can be very tough and don't want to go look in the mirror and ask ourselves, what's going on with me? Why am I like this? What's happening in my world? And so when we don't want to ask ourselves that question, we may go other places. And sometimes it could be infidelity. It may be, like I mentioned before, drug and alcohol abuse and other different ways to fill that void. And to fill that void, how about if we sit down and say, hey, who am I? Who am I in this world? What's my purpose? What's my mission in my life? And how about if we understand that, we use that to fill those voids instead of using behavior or thoughts that may not be beneficial to the people that are most important to us in our lives.
so you aren't necessarily out there going, "Hey, you look angry, and I can help you." What you're actually saying is your life can be better.
Most definitely.
Yeah,
be better.
you think that possibly it's about anger, but they may not be aware of that. But you're just saying there's a different way to live, and if you're not totally happy, I can show you how.
Yes, I can, and everything is controlled. And I've learned this through my years of coaching, and I've learned it through great speakers and great facilitators and great authors and writers. That it's our thoughts in our mind that control so much and control everything.
Right.
It's how our thoughts are and how we perceive ourselves, and when that perception can monitor your behaviors, and your behaviors can really turn other people off, or they can really bring people into your life. And then when that behavior is manifested in your life and it becomes a part of you, who you are, then all of a sudden you may say things that are very hurtful. How many of us out there have said things that they've tweeted, or maybe they've sent an email, or maybe they've made a phone call to somebody that they really wish, man, I really wish I hadn't have done that. It may have come from a place of anger. And what I've also found too, Laurie, is that when we abandon or lose our sense of self in this world, we may go into a place of victimization. People may be a victim. They think, oh my gosh, and what's happening to me? I can't do this. You did this to me. And you can tell by that language, I call them the you statements. And it's when people say to you, you did this to me. They're responsible for this. I can't move my life forward until these things start to happen. That may be a sign of a person that's a victim. And then at a point where the person gets tired of being the victim, they may go to a place of anger, because now they're fed up and they want to go to a place of anger. And the trick is, and the cool thing is, and the cool tools we have, is to get people out of that place of anger and get them to a place where they start having reconciliation, having peace within themselves, and the peace around the people.
So kind of like giving them another avenue
give
to
them
deal
another
with it.
out.
Yeah.
Give people another out. Instead of balling all in and inside yourself, it can, gosh, and Laurie, this, and all the great coaches and the great people out there listening know that stress, the anger can cause a lot of stress in your life. And that stress can manifest itself in many ways. High blood pressure, overweight, overeating. And the anger could come to a place where people will hunker down in their lives and they don't want to move forward.
Avoiding people,
Avoidance,
isolation,
all of those things can cause people to have issues in their life that they can, all it takes is a change of a thought, change of a habit, change of a behavior, and go, you know what, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I don't need this in my life anymore. I choose to move forward, and I go to a higher way, and I like to call it bright lights and bright stars. I choose to go to the bright lights and bright stars instead of staying in the darkness. And so let's get out of the darkness,
Follow the
ladies
light,
and gentlemen,
yes.
and go into the light. Let's go to the bright lights and the bright stars.
Well, I want to ask you about distinctions, and I have
Sure.
a few of them.
Sure.
One would be, okay, first of all, I question why you just chose men. I know you're a guy, and and that seems fair. But women, is there a difference between the anger between men and women?
I'm going to say...
He's so
since
diplomatic. Now watch
I'm
how
going
he
to be very
answers.
diplomatic, ladies and gentlemen. I would say no. I'm going to say that I do the life legacy for men because that's my area of expertise. However, I'm starting to find that we're getting quite a lot of feedback from women. And so I'd like to change the life legacy and then parentheses and women too. 'Cause
Okay.
you all are awesome. Trust
That
me,
makes
you're
me
all
feel
awesome.
better, yes.
Yes, yeah. And the same tools that we use for life legacy for men can also be used for women as well. And the tools that we use is out discovering who you are, discovering what's your purpose in life, what's your mission in life, and discovering how we speak and interact with other people. Because, you know, as coaches, we attract into our life what we are. Bad people usually attract bad people. Good people usually will attract good people into their lives. We can change that behavior and start attracting all the good things into our life. So, bottom line, yes, ladies, it works for ladies as well. And it's life legacy for men.
That makes me feel much better. Now, another distinction is,
Yes.
does this work in the corporate world as well as
Oh, yeah.
for lack of a better word, regular world? Does
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
Does this, yeah?
That's a great question, because if we understand who we are, and we understand who we are, and we have strength in our personal life as a man, then and we are able to have good, positive relationships with our people important to us in our life, and we're comfortable with who we are. Can you see how that would be such a multiplier to a business? Because now when your coworkers, when your workers and your employees come to work, they're in a place where they're secure, they're comfortable, they come from a place of character, they come from a place of integrity, they come from a place of loyalty, they come from a place of truth. And so when you have a person that shows up personally, privately in their world like that, can you imagine what that employee would be like when he goes to work? It would manifest itself. It's like taking a glass of water and pouring it out, and the water just goes everywhere, because that employee now is comfortable in his own skin, who he is, and you're going to get all kinds of cool results out of that employee, and it will be infectious. And you'll be infectious. You start attracting those good employees into your workplace. So yes, it can be very effective in your personal life, and very much so in the business world, because the person comes to work comfortable, they're secure, and they know who they are, and it's like a redwood tree. It's a tree that is solid, got solid roots, which would be the integrity, the character the person shows up, and the tree would be that part that the person sees every day, and that person comes from a place of integrity.
Okay, I want to
Sure.
talk about vets, because I know that's near and dear
Yes,
to your
that's
heart. But I
very
have
much so.
one more question that I want to ask you.
No, go ahead.
Is anger ever good?
I would say anger is good if it's controlled, and it's fast, and it's something that brings a internal realization of a situation, and if you
As an awakening.
yes,
yeah.
an awakening, and you hit a trigger. You said, "Why am I angry? Okay, how can I look at this situation differently and get rid of the anger, or mitigate the anger in your life?" And that would be a trigger. So if you know a certain situation causes a trigger in your life, and you want to get angry, and you know those physiological symptoms or signs that you have in your body, then that would be a trigger, and go, "Yep, you're right. I'm seeing it. How can I look at this situation differently? How can I turn it around?"
Rather than just automatically
and
react.
just
It's
reacting
like,
to it, and then all of a
let's-
sudden, when you put that out there, you can't get it back. And I like to use the
Yeah.
analogy of say, for instance, you're driving down the street and you're going 55 miles an hour and you're having a great time, and I mean, you're going to 75 miles an hour and the police aren't around, and all of a sudden somebody pulls out in front of you, and all of a sudden and they slow you down, and all of a sudden you get that feeling of anxiety and frustration and anger, and then all of a sudden you want to react to that, and then you go, your person slows down. All of a sudden, about 10 miles down the road, you meet that person, say, for instance, at a convenience store getting gas. And then you see the person.
And you run him over. No.
And we don't want to do that. And so you
Okay.
see the person on a cell phone, and you start talking to the person. All of a sudden, you realize the person has tears in their eyes and they're upset. And you look at that person, and you go, "Excuse me," and you're okay. Maybe you inquire, and they realize they may have had some bad news. So all of a sudden, you realize that your initial response to that situation, the person cutting in front of you, was totally invalid and not necessary, not required for the situation you're in. So when you see that trigger, understand that that may not be the reality of what you're seeing when you hit that trigger of what's happening to you.
Right.
So anger can bring about a positive change if you understand where it comes from, if you understand what the trigger is and how you can get it under control.
There's a trick, for lack of a better word, that when you see someone in the street, and New York is just full of humanity, and they get
yes,
on,
a lot of humanity in
you
New
know
York.
that, right?
Yeah,
A lot of humanity.
I love this city.
And it's like when someone like slows you down or something. And I've learned to do that. And you just go in your head. You just go, "Have a blessed day," and it just really just calms the whole thing. It's like, okay, I'm not going to yell at this person for walking backwards or whatever.
I like to send out a sense of peace, and I like to, and I'm a pretty good sized guy. And as we mentioned earlier, I'm 6'5". If you haven't figured that out on TV, I'm 6'5", and I can have a very overpowering presence. And so I like to make sure that people are comfortable with me, and it's important to me personally. And so I will, okay, I'm going to send you a little love. I'm going to send you a little peace. I'm going to send you a little harmony there. It's okay. It's okay, and that works. And as we mentioned earlier, I did an experiment. I just wanted to experience something, and I walked all the way through the Atlanta Hartsfield Airport from Concourse D to the baggage claim. And those of you out there, have ever been to Atlanta Hartsfield? It's a long walk. It's about a mile and a half or so into the baggage claim. I said, you know what? I'm going to smile. I'm just going to smile. I'm a big guy, and I'm going to just smile all the way from Concourse E all the way to baggage claim. And it was pretty weird at first. It felt different for me at first, and then it felt odd, and then I started smiling more and more. And every couple of hundred yards or so, I would stop, and all of a sudden it became infectious, and people were looking back at me, and they were smiling back at me, and I must have gone through around 1,000 to 2,000 people because it's the busiest airport in the world. And after about a mile, it was great. I almost started laughing, and I'm sure TSA was having a field day with me, but I noticed that people were engaging me more, and I only had two people actually try and cut me off because I made them feel uncomfortable. Maybe, I don't know, but and maybe it was my perception. But and so I started getting feedback, and then I would stop and I would turn around and look back, and I'd see people looking at me, and then I'd get that smile back, and I go, oh, it does work. See, send it out there, send the love, send the harmony out there. So,
well, I think what you said before, what you put out, you attract.
Get back,
so that's great.
Yeah.
Now I know you had a military background.
Yes, I did, Laurie. I sure
and
did.
as I said, vets are near and dear to your heart.
They are. I love them.
I want you to tell us a little bit about what you're doing with them, but also I want you to talk about the special kind of anger that they may be experiencing that's so different, and here's where I think we can make a distinction between men and women. And
okay.
Well,
I'd like to address that. Is that our vets are very important to us. Our Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines that are coming back from overseas. Having a tough time out there. And a lot of them can be can have a lot of anger, internal anger, and a lot of built-up anger. And as you know, anger can manifest itself, or PTSD can manifest itself into anger, and maybe a little bit vice versa. I would like to make a disclaimer that I am not an expert in that distinction, but I am very comfortable and an expert at helping the vets because I know their lingo, I know their language, and I can help them, and I know which track to get them on. And a lot of them are having issues when they reintegrate and come back into the country and come back to the United States, is that they are wired in a place where something traumatic has happened to them, something dramatic has happened to them. They have to undo old habits, old behaviors, survival techniques, survival instincts that they developed to keep themselves alive overseas. They've been in close quarters for so long and for so many years. Some of them have had several rotations in and out of the combat zones, and so that can eat on a person after a while. Each person will respond, and each person has their own different ways of coping. coping. Some of those coping mechanisms may not always work well for them. And so some of our vets are very fearful of asking for help.
Yeah.
And this has become our silent vets. I like to call them our silent vets. They don't know how to go get help. They don't know exactly where to go. And so they will hunker down because there seems to be a stigma, an emotional stigma, and this macho craziness that it's not okay to ask for help. Guys, ladies, get out there and ask for help. Give somebody a call. Give me a call. Get a hold of me, or reach out to somebody, because this is one of our silent majorities that's coming up here in the United States.
At this point, aren't the statistics saying that more vets have died from suicide than have died
We are losing
from actual military
Yeah.
action? Yeah.
Yeah, Laurie, I don't have the exact numbers, but the numbers are actually staggering. The number of vets, good men and women, bright, beautiful people that
Who
are taking their
served,
own
who-
lives.
yeah,
Are taking their own lives because
Yeah.
they don't know how to ask for and go get help, and we need to get a handle on that, America. We need to get a handle on
What are you doing in that field? I know you're
Okay.
working with the VA office, right?
I
With
do.
Franklin Covey.
I reach out through different agencies. We have a couple of agencies in Atlanta that I'm reaching out to and working with to ask the vets to come in and talk to us. Those that need help and those that want to get assistance and get help and understand that there's a way they can transition from the military life, from being in the military and transitioning positively into the civilian community, and to be and to get their lives back on track and do great things for our country again.
What can we do? What can regular me do?
Ladies and gentlemen, here's what I tell you. I would say go find a vet. Go find an airman, a Navy, a sailor, or a Marine, and
Fireman,
a soldier,
policeman.
fireman. Yeah, and I say go find anybody that gives service back to our country. Go find a firefighter. Go find an EMS worker. Go find a school teacher, and you go hug them. You go tell them that how important they are to our society. Because, ladies and gentlemen, this is what makes us who we are. These people give service to others, so we can all have a great life. And so go find a vet. Go find a firefighter, or soldier. Or EMS worker and a school teacher that deal with your kids and your families every day, and go give them a hug and thank them for their service. And because we all need that. We definitely need that in our society today.
Yeah, I think what also needs to happen is we need to crack the code, because they've been trained to be very strong and not ask for help and be independent and work as a team, and suddenly when they come back they do need help, and I hope that you're out there doing it, and I know a lot of people want to do it. It's just a matter of cracking the code, but I love what you're saying. Just go and say, you know what, I really appreciate what you've done. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate telling them that you would love their service and appreciate them being there, and then thank you for their gift to the country. Yeah.
Now tell me about Life Legacy. Are you taking it on the road? Do they have to come to you? How do you do this? Do you do it in workshops, one-on-one?
I do. Life Legacy, you can reach me at sourcepointcoaching.com for Life Legacy. We do workshops. We do individual groups. We do workshops. We do groups. We do executive. We do churches, profit and nonprofit organizations, and so we can take it on the road. We can custom a program to individual groups and webinars and seminars, and we can take it to change people's worlds. And the Life Legacy message.
And so I think what you were telling me about your father and how he prompted it, unfortunately he's not with us now.
That's
so
right.
Is all lost? I mean, is that just, we blew it, or how does that work?
No. I like the idea that my father taught me, the lessons that he taught me. And that is that we can take those lessons and we can share it with the rest of the world. And that's what I want to do through the Life Legacy message. And so I put those programs together, I put those products together, and we get it out there and we let people know that, hey, look, we can do great things. We can do great things.
So there's a lesson to be learned either way.
There's a lesson to be learned. And
if you can fix the situation, do it.
Fix it, yes. And like I said, my dad said, if you have the opportunity to fix something now before it gets too late in your life, go out there and fix it. If there's somebody out there, you need to tell them that you love them If there's somebody out there you need to forgive, if there's somebody out there that you need to let them know how important you are in your life, ladies and gentlemen, I don't care where you are right now, pick up the telephone, give that person a call, send them an email, and go out there and tell them how important they are to you. Because you don't want to go through your life and get to that to the very end and being an angry human being, being an angry person, and all of a sudden you get to the end of your life and you go, man, if you knew it was going to end this way, why didn't we fix it back here? And so that's when we got to take that tough look in the mirror and go, yes, I'm done with this. I want good, positive habits and behaviors that help the people in my life, whether it's my lovely wife, whether it's a child or a daughter, a son or a daughter, and or your coworkers. And I'd also like to add on that, for us men, it's very, very important for us to understand how we talk to and interact with the children in our lives, with our kids, because they're going to be a reflection of you. And so if you show up as an angry, mean person, guess what that child's going to see? That person, in that person's memory, they're going to think that behavior is acceptable, when really what happens, it isolates them from the rest of the world. And we don't want that to happen. We don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. So what they think is a normal way to react to a situation is totally wrong. And then when the young child gets older, they go back, where did I learn that behavior? Who taught me that? And that's not a good place to go.
I think we keep coming back to what you originally said. If you put it out there, it's coming back to you.
Come back.
And that comes especially with children. They mirror, because you're their role model.
And they're beautiful, beautiful sponges, and they take they take everything in, and they want to they'll mimic the people that are most important to them in their lives. Yeah, most important.
Well, tell us what we're going to find on, because we've got like 90 seconds.
No way. I want to talk more. I love this.
I told you it was going fast. Tell us what they're going to find on your website.
Laurie, what you'll find, ladies and gentlemen, on our website at SourcePoint Coaching is you'll find blogs. You'll find all about me, my bio. You'll find some of my videos that are going to be on there, and you'll find some links. And also, we're going to put on the DVD, the filming of this show. And we're also going to our Twitter connections and people that are supporting me through this mission, through this messaging.
Wow.
And, and so and how to contact me, how to get a hold of the people that are very, very important to me in my life, and putting all my messaging together. And I'd like to mention those, if I could, real quickly, is Jackie Arnold and Maggie Layton, and a great coach Tracy, who's helped me through so many things in my life.
Well, good. I hope they all are watching. And yes. Okay, so give them the website one more time, and then I'm going to thank you profusely for being here.
It's SourcePoint Coaching, www.sourcepointcoaching, and you can also get me at Source Coaching on Twitter, and I'm also on LinkedIn, ladies and gentlemen. So please join me and send me your feedback and your messaging, and I'd love to hear from you all.
And obviously, he doesn't mind traveling because he's here. So thank you so much, Jack. It has been so enlightening, and we're going to go out there and do our things with vets. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much, and thank you, New York.
Okay. So I guess I hope that wasn't